There is a painful truth, but the sooner you understand it, the sooner you can change your life. A person can work 12 hours a day, outwork everyone around them, sacrifice health, time, and youth. And still, after 10 years, there is a painful truth. But the sooner you understand it, the sooner you can change your life. A person can work 12 hours a day, outwork everyone around them, sacrifice health, time, and youth. And still, after 10 years, that person may not have enough money to survive 6 months without a job. It sounds unfair because most of us were taught that hard work always leads to a better life, that if we keep pushing, money will eventually follow. But the economy does not reward exhaustion, it rewards the value you create. The scarcity of your skills, your ability to solve problems, the assets you own, and the position you hold inside the economic system. Without understanding this, you can spend your whole life running faster on a treadmill, becoming more exhausted while the distance to financial freedom barely changes. Today, Money Mentor tells the story of a man named Marcus. Marcus is 32, living with his wife and young son in a modest apartment near an industrial district in Ohio. He is not lazy or reckless with money. In fact, everyone around him sees him as one of the hardest working men they know. Every morning at 4:30, Marcus wakes up, eats a quick sandwich, drinks strong coffee, and drives his aging sedan nearly 18 miles to the plant. His shift starts at 6, but he arrives early to receive the handoff and inspect the equipment. Marcus operates a packaging line, standing for almost 8 straight hours, watching products, fixing minor faults, replacing film rolls, checking weights, and recording output. The job is not highly technical, but one small mistake can ruin an entire shipment. When the regular shift ends, Marcus signs up for 4 more hours, sometimes 5, because overtime pays more. He keeps thinking that one more shift will finally create breathing room at the end of the month. Around 8 at night, Marcus leaves the plant, stops for groceries, and gets home close to 9. His son is usually sleepy. His wife reheats dinner, and they discuss school costs, utilities, medicine, and everything still due that month. Some evenings, his son brings over a math workbook, but Marcus is too exhausted to think clearly. He promises they will study on the weekend. Then, another overtime shift appears, and the small promise moves from one week to the next. 12-hour days, 6 days a week, sometimes Sundays too. Yet Marcus has never kept more than about $12,000 in savings. And even that never lasts long, because every time the family builds a cushion, something goes wrong. The car breaks down, his son gets sick, rent rises, relatives need help, or overtime is cut. Marcus keeps telling himself he simply is not working hard enough. Maybe he needs night shifts, less sleep, and even more sacrifice. That belief traps millions of workers. They never question the structure of their income, only the number of hours they sell. When money is short, the first response is always to work more. As pressure rises, they cut rest, education, family time, and reflection. But the more time they sell, the less capacity they have to build anything that could eventually free them from selling time. Then, the plant announces a 3-month order slowdown. Overtime disappears, and Marcus's income falls by almost 30%. The frightening part is not the pay cut. It is realizing that after nearly 10 years, he has almost no control over his own income. His hours, schedule, wages, and job security all depend on company plans. In the first month, he uses savings to cover expenses. In the second, his wife postpones buying their son new clothes. In the third month, the car fails again, and Marcus borrows a few $100s from a coworker. The man who worked 12 hours a day finally understands that hard work can help him survive. But the old version of hard work may never help him advance. On the same production team is Daniel. 3 years younger, Daniel is not the person who works the most overtime, and some coworkers even call him uncommitted because he often turns down evening shifts. After work, Daniel studies for about 90 minutes, learning spreadsheets, technical drawings, production analysis, and reporting. He begins with basic formulas, tracking tables, charts, defect rates, and clear data presentation. At first, studying earns Daniel nothing, and because he rejects overtime, he actually makes less than Marcus. Many people think he is being unrealistic, while everyone else is trying to earn more today. Daniel understands a simple principle. If he keeps doing the same work with the same skills inside the same system, his income will barely change. To earn a different result, He must become a different kind of worker. 6 months later, the team needs someone to summarize defect data. Daniel volunteers, building a simple dashboard that shows when breakdowns happen, which materials create more rejects, and where waste is highest. The dashboard is imperfect, but it helps reduce downtime. Daniel receives more responsibility, and after a year, he moves into a technical support role with higher base pay, fewer physical hours, and more learning opportunities. Marcus cannot understand it. He works longer, has more experience, and sacrifices more. Yet Daniel moves faster. During lunch, Marcus asks why he refuses so much overtime. Daniel says, "I still work hard, but I divide my hard work into two parts. One part earns money today, and the other increases my value for tomorrow." Those words stay with Marcus for years. Every ounce of his effort has gone into exchanging time for money. None has gone into making each hour more valuable. He is doing almost the same work he did 10 years ago, only with weaker health and greater responsibilities. Working 12 hours a day does not automatically make someone poor. In certain seasons, long hours can be a rational strategy, especially when paying off debt, building emergency savings, raising capital, or surviving a crisis. The real question is not how many hours you work, it is whether those hours increase your assets, skills, income, and choices. 12-hour days for 6 months to eliminate high-interest debt may be a focused sacrifice. 12-hour days for 2 years to build a business system may be an investment phase. And overtime used to complete an emergency fund before reducing hours to study can be a smart plan. But if you work 12-hour days for 10 years and still have no savings, no new skills, no assets, poor health, and no ability to reject a bad job, hard work has become a loop. The clearest benefit of long hours is short-term income. Every overtime hour can help a family pay rent, cover tuition, buy medicine, or avoid expensive debt. And that value should never be dismissed. People working 2 jobs to support a family should not be judged from a position of comfort. Sometimes they work 12 hours because they have very few alternatives, not because they lack discipline or intelligence. Long hours can also build discipline, pressure tolerance, practical experience, and responsibility. People who have endured hard work often understand the value of money and stability. But a foundation matters only when you build the next floor. If you remain forever at the foundation, the house is never completed. The first major risk of 12-hour days is physical depletion. Human beings are not machines. The body needs sleep, movement, rest, and recovery. Prolonged sleep loss reduces focus, increases mistakes, destabilizes emotions, and raises accident risk, especially around machinery, vehicles, construction, or heavy labor. 1 second of lost concentration can destroy years of income. Earning an extra $400 a month is not a gain if declining health later creates $10,000 in medical bills. The second risk is time poverty. Money can be scarce, but time is even scarcer. People who work excessive hours lose the time needed for family, relationships, learning, reflection, and long-term planning. They may raise income this month while sacrificing the activities that could raise income next year. This opportunity cost is enormous, but invisible because the bill does not arrive immediately. The third risk is becoming trapped in low-value skills. A job can be exhausting without being highly paid because wages do not measure pain. They reflect supply, demand, replaceability, and economic value. A task that many people can learn in a few days is unlikely to command high pay, even when it is physically difficult, while a skill that takes years to develop and solves expensive problems is often paid much more. That can feel unfair. But markets rarely pay for sacrifice itself. They pay for outcomes. A technician who prevents a $500,000 shutdown may earn more than someone who stands on the line for 12 hours, not because the technician works harder, but because the problem solved is more valuable. The fourth risk is depending completely on one income source. Marcus works hard, but every dollar comes from one plant. When orders fall, income falls. When health fails, income falls. When the company automates, relocates, or cuts staff, the income may disappear. Many hours do not create security when every hour depends on the same employer. The fifth risk is the illusion of progress. When every day feels busy, people assume they are moving forward, but busyness and progress are not the same thing. A person can work constantly while finances, knowledge, health, and choices remain unchanged. Exhaustion can feel like proof of effort, but the market sees only accumulated results. After speaking with Daniel, Marcus does not quit or reject all overtime. He still needs the money, and he does not chase a vague dream. He begins with one small change. Instead of accepting every extra shift, Marcus protects 2 evenings each week, 90 minutes at a time. Daniel teaches him basic computer skills, and at first, Marcus types with 2 fingers and struggles with formulas. He forgets steps and sometimes thinks he is too old to learn. But Daniel reminds him that difficulty is not proof of inability. It is evidence that the brain is doing something new. Marcus chooses skills close to his existing experience, learning to record machine data, track downtime, analyze output, and prepare shift reports. He does not throw away his old experience. He combines it with a new skill. Marcus has nearly 10 years of knowledge about the line. He recognizes abnormal sounds, common faults, and mistakes made by new workers. But until now, that knowledge existed only in his head, invisible to management. Once he learns to document, analyze, and propose improvements, his experience takes shape. 3 months later, Marcus creates a simple report on machine stoppages and notices one defect repeatedly occurs after packaging rolls are replaced. He suggests a short restart checklist. Defects in his shift decline, and management begins to notice. 6 months later, Marcus is asked to train new employees and help document incidents. His pay has not changed dramatically yet, but his position inside the system has changed. He's no longer only the person operating the machine. He's becoming someone who understands the process. At the same time, Marcus and his wife review their household cash flow. He once believed they were struggling only because income was low, but tracking expenses reveals several small leaks that add up: convenience food, phone financing, late fees, small loan interest, and purchases to compensate for exhaustion. They are not living luxuriously, but their finances have no system. Low-income households cannot become wealthy merely by cutting coffee, but money management still matters, because without a system, every raise can be absorbed by lifestyle costs. Working more hours without keeping any of the income is like pouring water into a leaking bucket. Marcus and his wife set 3 goals: 1 month of emergency expenses, then 3 months. They also plan to eliminate small, high-interest debts and reserve a fixed amount each month for learning. Even when the amount is modest, they move the money immediately after payday instead of waiting for leftovers. 1 year later, Marcus is not rich. He still drives the old car and lives in the same apartment, but he no longer borrows before payday. He has almost 2 months of expenses saved. He is promoted to assistant shift lead. Base pay rises, overtime declines, and most importantly, each hour of his work is becoming more valuable. The first lesson is to stop asking only how many extra hours you can work. Ask instead, what is 1 hour of my time worth, and what must I learn to make it worth more? One person raises income by moving from 8 hours to 12. Another raises the value of an hour from $18 to $30. The first path is limited by time and health. The second expands through skill. The second lesson is that long hours matter only when they create assets. And assets are more than real estate or stocks. An asset can be a skill, reputation, professional relationship, certification, workflow, personal brand, customer data, or emergency savings. After every year of work, ask what remains besides the money already spent. If the answer is nothing, the strategy must change. The third lesson is not to use overtime to hide a weak financial structure. Many people use overtime to support expenses they could not afford on base pay. They finance unnecessary purchases or maintain a lifestyle that works only during high-income months. Then overtime disappears and the entire structure collapses. When income is unstable, fixed costs must be controlled. If rent, debt, and monthly obligations consume almost all base pay, you are living on uncertain income. The fourth lesson is to protect enough energy to learn and change. Many workers wait until they have more time, but free time rarely appears by accident. It must be reserved. Sometimes accepting slightly lower short-term income is necessary to improve long-term earning power. This requires careful planning. Do not quit impulsively or abandon overtime before the family has a safety cushion, but do not sell every available hour for years either. The fifth lesson is to choose skills close to your current experience. People often chase a high-paying field and ignore the advantage they have already built. A factory worker might learn quality control, maintenance, safety, production analytics, or automation. A salesperson might learn customer management, negotiation, advertising, or sales analysis. A driver might learn dispatching, fleet management, or route optimization. Combining new skills with existing experience is often more realistic than starting from zero. The sixth lesson is to become a problem solver, not only a hard worker. People are usually paid more when they increase revenue, reduce costs, lower risk, save time, or organize work better. Connect every skill to a specific result. Do not say, I know spreadsheets. Say, I reduced report preparation from 3 hours to 30 minutes. Do not say, I have operations experience. Say, I built a process that reduced repeat defects. The seventh lesson is that health is capital, and the body is your most important income-producing tool. If work requires 12-hour days, sleep, nutrition, movement, and medical checkups become even more important. Do not use caffeine, cigarettes, or energy drinks to keep borrowing energy from the future. Every loan eventually comes due. The eighth lesson is to build emergency savings before pursuing major plans. Without a cash reserve, changing jobs, learning, and negotiating become much harder. People accept any condition because losing 1 month of income could create a family crisis. Emergency savings will not make you rich overnight, but it buys time to think, refuse, and wait for the right opportunity. The ninth lesson is that not every long hours job is bad. There are seasons when 12-hour days are necessary, but the goal, deadline, and stopping point must be clear. For example, I will work overtime for 9 months to eliminate debt, 1 year to build 6 months of savings, or 6 months on a difficult project to gain valuable experience. With a goal, long hours become a strategy. Without one, they become a habit. The 10th lesson is to measure progress with numbers, not only feelings. Track average hourly income, savings rate, months of expenses in your emergency fund, and hours invested in skill development each month. If work hours rise but hourly income, savings, and skills do not, the current strategy is failing. 2 years after overtime was cut, Marcus becomes the official shift lead. He no longer works 12-hour days routinely. His income is higher, while total hours are lower. His wife also learns online sales and begins helping a small local retailer. The family moves to a larger apartment. Their son has his own study corner, and every Wednesday and Sunday evening, Marcus keeps his promise to study with him. Marcus did not change because of luck, a secret investment, or a get-rich-quick opportunity. He changed how he allocated his effort. Before, 100% of his energy earned money today. Now part builds skills, part manages money, part protects health, and part improves his position at work. Your situation may be harder than Marcus's, with lower income, greater responsibility, weaker health, or no mentor. But the same principles can still work on a smaller scale. You do not need to study 3 hours a day. Start with 30 minutes. You do not need to save thousands immediately. Start with a small percentage. You do not need to quit. Begin by noticing which problems inside your company remain unsolved. Then write down 4 questions. First, am I being paid mainly for time, skill, or results? Second, which skill could increase my value over the next 2 years? Third, which expense forces me to work more without creating long-term value? And fourth, if I lost my job tomorrow, how many months could I survive? Those answers may be uncomfortable, but they reveal the truth. Never feel ashamed of working 12-hour days. Honest labor deserves respect, but do not turn suffering into an identity that prevents change. Hardship is not a medal. Exhaustion is not a measure of human worth. And hours worked do not prove you are approaching freedom. A person may remain poor, not because of weak effort, but because that effort operates inside a system that prevents accumulation, low wages, high fixed costs, no savings, no learning time, and no assets. Escaping requires more than hard work. It requires strategy, discipline, knowledge, and time. Remember, labor earns money, skills increase value, money management helps you keep it. Assets keep money working, while health and time allow you to stay in the journey long enough to see results. If you currently work 12 hours a day, do not blame yourself. Look at the purpose of each hour. Some hours pay bills, some build savings, but some must be protected to build a more valuable version of you. 30 minutes a day becomes more than 150 hours a year, and nearly 500 hours in 3 years, enough to build a new skill, improve a career, or create another income source. Financial change rarely comes from one dramatic decision. It usually comes from small choices repeated long enough: tracking expenses, refusing unnecessary financing, studying one evening, sleeping earlier, volunteering for a difficult assignment, learning from someone better, or saving before spending. Marcus is not wealthy after 2 years, but he escapes something more dangerous than a lack of money. He escapes a lack of choices. Before, overtime was his only way to earn more. Later, skill, position, efficiency, and problem solving create new paths. Before, one small emergency pushed the family into debt. Later, emergency savings give them time to respond. Before, the future depended entirely on overtime. Later, it depends on what Marcus is building. You do not need to hate your current job or deny the dignity of labor. The belief that must change is that more hours will automatically solve every problem. Sometimes the answer is not more work, but more learning. Not running faster, but changing direction. Not enduring longer, but building a better system. Thank you for staying with Money Mentor until the end. If this story showed you that hard work is the foundation, but well-directed hard work creates change. Subscribe and turn on notifications for more content about money habits, personal finance, career value, and building a more stable future. Share this video with someone who works from morning to night, but still feels stuck. They may not lack willpower. They may simply need a different perspective. And the right perspective can save years spent moving in the wrong direction. Leave a comment. What is holding your finances back right now? Low income, uncontrolled spending, consumer debt, missing skills, no time to learn, or no clear plan? Use that answer as the beginning of a new decision. Work hard, but do not spend all your strength maintaining today's life. Reserve some strength to build tomorrow's life. Because the goal is not to become someone capable of working 12 hours a day forever. The goal is to build enough skill, assets, and choice that you are no longer forced to do it.